There's a very important benefit of apple cider vinegar that I've never even talked about in any of my videos on apple cider vinegar, and I probably have hundreds of them. And I think most people know that apple cider vinegar is good for digestion. It helps with bloating, indigestion, acid reflux. Apple cider vinegar also is good for your blood sugar. It helps make insulin more sensitive. We have less of a fatty liver and less inflammation. I think a lot of people know about those things, and I've talked about those benefits extensively until very recently. Is another huge, major benefit of apple cider vinegar. And to explain the benefit, I just need to explain something about good bacteria and bad bacteria. Both groups of microbes can go into a dormant state. They can go to sleep. I want to show you something in this book right here, which is kind of like a mini summarization of a textbook on microbes. I want to read something to you. This is mind-blowing. Certain bacteria were able to switch from an active growing phase to dormancy. This is a survival mechanism triggered mainly by starvation signals. Of course, if you're going to starve them off, they're going to die, right? The last resort response to starvation that a cell undergoes once all other stress coping mechanisms have failed. The purpose is to generate a metabolic inactive cell that will maintain the genetic information under various environmental stresses, including ultraviolet radiation and certain enzymes and certain chemicals. When that microbe is in a dormant state, it's protected, especially against antibiotics. Thanks to its architecture, a dormant microbe can survive decades to thousands of years. What? The things that revive a good bacteria versus a bad bacteria or a bad pathogen are not the same. What will wake up the good bacteria that are sleeping? There's several things, but the thing that I want to talk about is the change of environment. Just by changing the pH, you can either wake up a good bacteria or put them to sleep. Most of the good bacteria thrive in an acid environment. And this acid protects them because a lot of pathogens cannot live in that acidic environment, but the good guys can. And so when you're taking apple cider vinegar, you're acidifying the environment. Now, you can also do this with kombucha tea, pickle juice, sauerkraut, kimchi, things like that. A lot of health problems occur because the bacteria now can penetrate through this immune wall, go into your bloodstream, and create a systemic infection and create all sorts of issues. There's two main entry points these microbes kind of get into your blood. One is through the colon, and the other is through your gums. In fact, there's certain reports that when they look at plaquing in the arteries, they're finding bacteria from your mouth. A lot of skin problems is coming from this bacteria that should be in the gut, but it's called translocated. It moves in a different part of your body. There's another type of microbe that creates butyrate, which is kind of a byproduct that helps insulin resistance. Those microbes love an acidic environment. And just by keeping that pH in the acidic range, you can greatly increase the numbers of those bacteria. It's all about the terrain, the environment. I mean, think about with you. Don't you thrive in a nice environment? We have a mutual arrangement with microbes, right? We provide a home for them to live, and they give us immune protection. They make vitamins. They help us digest. If you're not going to provide a good home for them, they're going to go to sleep and wait for you to clean up your act. By dropping the pH, making it more acidic, you germinate that microbe. That means activate it. You also have other microbes like friendly yeast that live more in an acidic environment. I mean, let's talk about some other microbes. H. pylori. H. pylori has a strategy of releasing something that's super alkaline. It's called ammonia. And then it can kind of really do its damage. And it's behind ulcers in the stomach and the small intestine. You have other microbes called C. diff, E. coli, salmonella that could be put to sleep once you reduce the pH below 6. You have the small intestine, and then you have the large intestine, right? The large intestine is where the majority of microbes are. That's where you should be having most of your lactobacillus or lactic acid bacteria. You shouldn't have the majority of microbes in the small intestine. In fact, certain parts of the small intestine on the top part of it should not be as acid. They should be more alkaline. If you have these pathogens like E. coli in the small intestine, where it's not as acid, they start acting up and creating problems. When you drop the pH of certain parts of your digestive system, you can help put these pathogens to sleep, and you can wake up the good guys. When you start to wake up some of these good bacteria, they start to release their own sort of antibiotic that also suppresses the bad bacteria. Now let's shift gears to the bad bacteria, the pathogens. How do you wake those guys up? The main way is not necessarily just to increase the pH and make the body more alkaline. The main way is to suppress the immune system, the natural thing that should keep the bad guys in check. Antibiotics also work because it lowers the defense system of the immune system, and then they start to wake up. Stress suppresses the immune system. Prednisone also wakes up pathogens. And the reason it's doing that is because it's lowering our immune system. When we get older, stressed out, they can start to thrive. But the big thing that can activate these microbes is vitamin D deficiency. So vitamin D deficiency creates such a weakness that the pathogens can come out of hibernation and do destruction. Even when I was in practice, I noticed that when people got these serious infections, whether it's a cold sore on the mouth or genital herpes, stress was a big trigger. It's lowering the immune system, but vitamin D is such an important factor, not small amounts. I'm talking about at least 10,000, but probably 20 or 30,000 or more of vitamin D3 to help keep these microbes in remission, because now your immune system is strong and it can keep those guys in check. I hope you now know the importance of apple cider vinegar and other natural acidifiers that can help change the environment of your gut. So what I would recommend is taking 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in a little water in the evening, every single day. You drink it with a straw, and you can add lemon in it if you want, or just do apple cider vinegar. The type of apple cider vinegar I like is Fairchild's apple cider vinegar. That's the one that I use. I hope this information helped you. And if you haven't seen this video on apple cider vinegar, you should check it out. It got millions of views right there. Hey, before you leave, I just wanted to give you a little quick history on some of the books that I wrote. This was one of the first books. It's called Dr. Berg Body Shapes. It was my attempt at writing about body types. What was very interesting about this book is I actually did all the images myself. Don't ask me why. They look actually not quite as professional as some of the images that I have in the new book. But anyway, this is my first attempt right here called Dr. Berg's Body Shape Diets. And then I wrote a book more extensive called The 7 Principles of Fat Burning. I don't even have a copy anymore, actually, because it's outdated. The next book, I put about 1,000 hours into this one right here called The New Body Type Guide. Major updates on the body types. I put a lot of energy into this. It has professional images, graphics, all sorts of things. Now, the problem with this book is it doesn't really describe what this is really about. Body types are only a small portion of what's in this book. And that's why I changed the name to the Healthy Keto Plan, okay? If you happen to have this book, you don't really need this book because there's only very, very minor updates. But if you don't have this, you need to get this one right here. This book goes into every single detail that you would ever want to know about. It goes into the 7 principles of fat burning. It goes into hormones, the body types, the basic keto plan. It goes into intermittent fasting. I talk about the 10 fat-burning triggers and blockers and fat-burning strategies with a lot of details in every single chapter. I go into body issues that interfere with losing weight. There's very few people that just have a weight problem. They have a lot of body issues, whether it's sleeping problems, stress problems, inflammation, menopause. I cover that extensively in this book. Then I talk about how to get rid of stress, and I show you a technique. Then I get into exercising. And then I have a lot of really good recipes in this book as well. So this is a good reference guide. On my website, if you get this book, you get this one free. It's called Healthy Keto Intermittent Fasting. This is the shortcut, quick guide to this book. And the reason I created this book is to have you, within 45 minutes, learn how to do keto, okay, in intermittent fasting, exactly what you need to do. Then you can fill in the blanks with this book right here. So right now I'm doing a special. If you get this book, you get this one totally free, or you can go to Amazon and get these individually. So I just want to clarify the difference between this book and this updated one right here. If you don't have this, you need to get this right here. That way you can get the exact correct information to do it healthily.